Welcome to the Paul Wallis Channel. In these short stories of origins, I'm going to be telling some anomalous stories from the news, strange phenomena in the current day, and asking how they relate to what our ancestors had to tell us in world mythology and in our ancestral narratives. Is there any connection between what we're experiencing today and what our ancestors had to say? And I'd love to hear from you as to your experiences and your thoughts on these things. So I'll end each one of these with a question so that you can jump into the comments and we can get into a conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell for all notifications. All right, we'll jump into this story, which is all about telepathy. About 10 years ago, two Year 10 girls, Julie and Kay, were spending a day out enjoying their post-exam leisure. They had had a very demanding Year 10 and they were just enjoying that pause at the end of that year before beginning to prepare for college, years 11 and 12. They were part of a really close-knit group of friends, but on this occasion, it was just the two of them who were enjoying some bushwalking together. At about 11:30 that morning, from out of nowhere, in the middle of their activity, both of them began to feel incredibly restless and uncomfortable. And then very quickly, that feeling changed into a feeling of incredible grief and sadness. And then both of them felt individually, before they said anything to each other, that this had to do with something that was happening to their friend Peter. Now, Peter was part of this friendship circle, and from day to day they were often doing activities involving him. They knew each other very well. It took a while for them to share with each other, "I'm feeling really strange," and as they began sharing each other's feelings, they both started weeping, and they both said, "Something has happened to Peter. We're both feeling it, something awful." Well, they couldn't continue with their day feeling as they did, so they turned around and went home. And it was when they both got home that they discovered just that morning that Peter had drowned in a freak accident. And he had drowned at about 11:30, the exact time they were having this horrible feeling. Now, it may be that you have had experiences like that, or people in your friendship circle or in your family circle, where you've experienced something where you just knew there was something wrong for a particular person in your family or in your friendship group. And though you didn't have any information, you could just feel it. You knew something was wrong. Maybe you've had that experience regarding one of your children, or perhaps a parent. Maybe you've had other experiences that have been positive, where you knew you were going to see someone before it happened, and you knew they were coming with good news. Almost every family or friendship circle I know has some kind of a story like that that suggests we might have a telepathic connection with one another. People talk about studies of twins, where the twins know what's going on for one another when they're separated by miles and miles. But the stories I've heard suggest this is actually a more common experience than just that. Is there anything in our ancestral narratives that would explain why this might happen? The story of human origins that comes from Guatemala exists in a book called the Popol Vuh. It's an 18th century translation of an ancient Quiche text in which human beings are described as having been engineered by visitors from somewhere else, and the chief genetic engineer was a being called Quetzalcoatl, or Cucumatz, or Kukulkan, according to which iteration of this mythology you read. And in that story, it says that all our ancestors used to have a telepathic connection, that we were actually able to see remotely, that we could sense things beyond the immediate field of our 5 physical senses, that we had a connection with each other's thoughts and each other's feelings, and that was the normal human condition. And then the story says we were all dumbed down by some mechanism to bring us down to the current point where it's just the 5 senses that tell us what's going on around us. But if you're like me, You will have wondered for a long time why we have so much brain that appears not to get used. What is all that extra capacity for? The Popol Vuh is just one of a number of mythologies that says it's for higher capacities that our ancestors used to have and operate in that we don't have today. And yet we can flick this on. We can get glimpses of telepathic connection, glimpses of remote viewing, glimpses of self-healing, glimpses of precognition. I wonder what your experience is. Have you ever had an experience of a telepathic connection where you knew what somebody else was feeling, or what they were thinking, or that they were about to arrive, or that something had happened to them? Please jump into the comments with your story. I'll meet you there and we'll have a conversation. And remember to subscribe and click on the bell for notifications. And I'll see you next time.